Everyone, today we will discuss Paradise Lost by John Milton. You all know that John Milton was an English poet whose lifespan was from 1608 to 74. He composed one of the greatest epics in English literature, and that is Paradise Lost. So let's start our discussion. Today we'll have discussion about the first stanza of book 1. Milton starts his first stanza with an extended invocation like other epic poems, and in his invocation he mixes the Christian tradition with the pagan Greek classical tradition. And in his invocation, Milton makes it clear his intention behind writing this uh, epic. He says that his intention here in this epic is to justify God's way towards mankind. And as this epic has an explicit religious tone of proving God's ways to of proving that God's ways to mankind are just, Milton starts his invocation with the first disobedience of mankind, and that was eating the forbidden fruit of that forbidden tree. And he then goes on to say how why human beings fell from heaven or the Garden of Eden, and how death was introduced, and how things happened after that. So let's start. Of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree, whose mortal taste brought death into the world. By man's first disobedience, the Milton means the conceiving of the fruit of that forbidden tree, or the fruit of knowledge. Fruit of knowledge, which after Adam and Eve were placed in Garden of Eden, God forbade them to eat. They were free to do whatever they wished to, but except only one limitation, and that was not to eat the fruit of that forbidden tree, which they ate. And eventually, they were banished from heaven because of their disobedience. And that is why Milton is saying, whose mortal taste. Mortal here means means two things. That is mortal because it is deadly, because of the nature of the disobedience. They disobeyed the God, their creator. And secondly, it means mortal, like related to death. Because when Adam and Eve were in Eden, there was no such thing as death. Only after they were banished from that Garden of Eden, they were they death become an essential part of their life, or as it is the part of our human life. So in the heaven, they were immortals, but after they were banished, they became mortals. That is why it is also saying that mortal test. It is because of this test that human beings became mortal, and that is why the last the following few the following sentence or the following line is explaining this model. It says that that model test brought death into the world when all our who. And why who? Because of this disobeyal, we also became mortal, and we also mm, uh, came to the this earth, and we also are undergoing suffering here. That is why it has also caused our who. And another thing, that with loss of Eden, which we have already mentioned, that is, it also caused us loss of Eden, because after this disposal they were banished. Till one greater man restore us and regain the blissful seat. Milton is saying that we all were, our grandparents, Adam and Eve, were banished from heaven. That is why you are all here, human beings in this world. And there is one greater man who restored us, who uh, who saved us from this earthly suffering and our sins, etc. And that greater man is Jesus Christ, and restore us. That restore us means that we lost Eden, and this greater man brought us heaven and regain the blissful, and that is meant by here blissful seat. Blissful seat means heaven. That we lost heaven because the disobeyal of our grandparents, and we will regain heaven because of this greater man, Jesus Christ. Then Milton says, sing heavenly muse, that on the secret top of Oreb or Sinai didst inspire that shepherd who first taught the chosen seed in the beginning how the heavens and earth rose out of chaos. Then Milton is asking the heavenly muse, and this heavenly muse is the one of the parts of that Christian Trinity, that the Holy Spirit. And this spirit, this angel, or rather inspired uh, the Old Testament prophet, that shepherd is being referred here, Moses. About him we will read a lot. Milton is alluding to that Old Testament uh, events a lot. And that shepherd, that Moses, was inspired in the mountain of Oreb or Sinai. These two are different names for the same mountain. Moses was inspired here by the heavenly muse. That heavenly muse, or the Holy Spirit, inspired Moses on the secret top of Oreb or Sinai. These two mountains. So first, I forgot to explain to you and show to you the beautiful picture of the Garden of Eden. First, let us have this beautiful picture. This is the Garden of Eden, and in Bible, as her description reads, it is the biblical earthly paradise which was created by God to be inhabited by his first human creation, Adam and Eve. Its location is assumed to be somewhere in Mesopotamia, that is in the Middle East, Iraq. Now our Mount of Oreb or Mount of Sinai. Mount Sinai. This is the beautiful picture of Mount Sinai, which is located, as you can see, where it is located. Mount Horeb. It is also said the mountain which Moses had climbed to get the Ten Commandments from God. It is located in the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt. This mountain is popularly known as Mount Moses. Here, Moses received the Ten Commandments from Yahweh or Jewish God. So, you have understood, I think, what Mount Horeb or Sinai is. And Milton is invoking that Holy Spirit who inspired Moses in on the top of that mountain, and he is explaining, he is adding details about the Moses and saying that who first taught the chosen seed. We will actually, in epic poem we will see such things like this, like explanation coming after a parenthesis. We'll see such things a lot. The shepherd who first taught the chosen seed. Here, by the phrase chosen seed, Milton means the Israelites or the Jewish people. Jewish people. Milton was the prophet of the Jewish people or the Israelites. So, Moses was the prophet of the Jewish people. So Moses instructed them or informed them about God's command. That is why Milton is saying that Moses first taught the this chosen seed, that is the Jewish people, about the uh, about God's plan and God's instruction. And Miller says they are explained about how in the beginning how the heavens and the earth rose out of chaos. Like Miller is saying that Moses taught the Jewish people about their religion, and we know that in religion, in every religion, it is an essential part to describe how the universe has been created. So likewise, Milton is also saying the same thing, that Moses inspired this and everything. So here, what Milton is trying to aim is that he is trying to compose this poem, this epic, and he is invoking such holy spirits in order to take inspiration, so that Milton thinks that he is invoking them, these holy spirits, so that that Holy Spirit, that very Holy Spirit who inspired Moses on the top of Oreb or Sinai, may inspire Milton, because he is also in a grand enterprise of, or similar religious grand enterprise of, justifying God's action. So let's move to the next set of lines. And Milton is again invoking that same Holy Spirit and saying that, or if Sion hill delight thee more, and Siloah's brook that flowed fast by the oracle of God, I thence invoke thy aid to my adventurous song. Sion hill is referring to the Zion, Zion hill. Look, what Zion hill is. Mount Zion is a hill in Jerusalem. The term Mount Zion has been used in the Hebrew Bible for the first city of David, or that is the city which David founded, and later for the Temple Mount. But its meaning has shifted, and it is now used as the same as the name of ancient Jerusalem's western hill. In a wider sense, this is important for our discussion. The term is also used for the entered land of Israel. First, Milton was invoking the Old Testament prophet Moses, and then Milton is invoking the holy Mount Zion, which is located near about this place. It is located here, and which is a sacred mountain, and that is why Milton's invocation. First, he invokes the Old Testament prophet, then he invokes a sacred mountain, which is a mountain which is sacred in Old Testament, in order to gain the aid of the Holy Spirit. He says that if he is saying to the Holy Spirit that if you do not dwell on that on the top of Mount Horeb or Sinai, and if you prefer Sion Hill, that is why he says delight the more. That if you do not dwell on those tops, but if you dwell on the Sion Hill, I am invoking from that Sion Hill your aid. And here, the Silver's brook that flowed fast by the oracle of God, Milton is mixing the Christian and classical tradition. Greek classical tradition. He is mixing them. Why? How? Because this phrase, the oracle of God, is associated with Apollo. Apollo's temple at Delphi, which is located where? The Avonian Mount, that is Mount Parnassus. Let's look what Avonian Mount is. See, Avonian Mount is actually Mount Parnassus. This is a mountain range in the central Greece. Mythically, it had been associated with Orpheus and hence with bards and singing. In this mountain range was also located the temple of Apollo, who was traditionally considered to be the god of music and harmony. This temple of Apollo was called also the called the oracle of God. It was believed to be home to the muses responsible for poetic creativity. So it is important. Why? Because of lot of things. First, it is associated with arts and singing. It is associated with Apollo, who is the god of music and harmony, and it is also music associated with muses responsible for poetic creativity or fine arts. So Mount Parnassus is very important as far as literary and poetic creativity is concerned. So Milton is invoking that mount as well, and he is combining that Siloa. Siloa is a place in Jerusalem. Siloah is a place in Jerusalem, and he is saying that it is Siloah's brook that flowed fast by the oracle God. That if you suppose, Milton is supposing a lot of things, imagining a lot of things, that if you do not dwell on Mount Horeb or Sinai, then you may be dwelling on Mount Zion, and maybe you will be dwelling uh, on the oracle on the oracle of God, by which flows the Siloah's brook. Milton says that wherever you may dwell, I thence invoke thy aid to my adventurous song. That you, wherever you may be, you aid me from that space. And then Milton is describing his epic. He says that this epic, Paradise Lost, with no middle flight, intends to soar above the Avonian Mount. That this epic intends to soar, that is, fly above, fly above the Avonian Mount. That is, Milton's epic, Milton is attempting to, trying to surpass, surpass in glory, or in maybe in content, whatever may be, he is trying to surpass the Avonian Mount. Avonian Mount means, you have already read that Avonian Mount is associated with the Greek culture, creativity, singing, music, and Milton, by this reference to the Avonian Mount, Milton is trying to um, imply that he is trying to surpass the classical masters like Homer and Aeneid. And he says that it pursues things which is unattempted yet in prose or rhyme. That Milton is pursuing such things here, that it has, like, what thing? The thing of Satan's rebellion against God. So Milton is pursuing such thing, and Milton says that this thing has not been attempted in prose or rhyme. So Milton is sometimes very much conscious about his ambition, about his topic, and about his uh, about the danger which this handling of such a subtle topic may lead to. So Milton is very much conscious, and that is why he is invoking such holy spirits, and he is making such he is using such broad range of allusions, because he is very much conscious, and he is very much anxious as well. Now let's look at the last few lines of the first stanza. Then Milton says that is Milton asking the O Spirit, and this Spirit, it is not actually clear uh, who Milton is invoking with reference to this O Spirit, but it looks like that he is invoking God Himself. He is invoking God Himself. That he says, chiefly Thou, O Spirit, that dost prefer before all temples, that you prefer before all temples the upright heart and pure. That is, you do not prefer much temples, but you prefer more pure and upright hearts of human beings. He says that you prefer such things, but whatever be, you instruct me, for thou knowest. It is God who knows everything. That is why he is saying that thou from the very first was present. God was present from the very first, and it is also described in the Bible that God was when the universe was being created. God was hovering over the chaos like a dove, and here Milton is using this same analogy and says that thou from the very first was present, and with mighty wings outspread, dove like sat brooding on the vast abyss and madest it pregnant. That the same analogy of creation is here made, that when the universe was being created, God was hovering over that chaos like a dove, and Milton is describing the event, and thereby trying to highlight God's importance, God's power, and he is invoking and asking God to help him. And then finally he says, what in me is dark, illumine. That is, I am attempting to write this poem, but there may be some lack in me, and illumine that darkness or that lacking. What is low, raise and support, that to the height of this great argument I may assert eternal providence and justify the ways of God to me. These two lines are the most important lines. These two lines will recur time and again. Milton is saying that help me in every kind so that I may assert, that I may prove eternal providence. Eternal providence means God's plan. Actually, providence means knowledge, but here it means God's plan. Milton is saying that God has some plan in allowing mankind to fall from heaven and allowing evil to prosper in this world. Everywhere, God has a plan, and Milton is invoking to the oldest invoking the Old Testament Moses, Old Testament prophet, the Holy Spirit, and finally to God, so that they may help him to prove that God's plan is just. So that's all. Thank you. If you have any questions, please message me, then I will be able to answer your queries. Thank you.